Hello everyone and welcome to this week's video tutorial. This will be bot number 57 from Dubious positions and how to attack them. We will be going over another less commonly seen counter against the central cannon. So without further ado, let us begin. Central cannon. Black develops his left horse as a proper horse to protect the central pawn. And he chooses to push p7 plus 1 before red can push p3 plus 1. So far it's okay. Red continues with c8, h8 plus 7. He can also consider h1 r1 equals to 2. Now this would be black's left single horse defense. Now the nomenclature or the naming of the single horse defense is dependent on which horse protects the central pawn. In this case, the left horse will be the horse protecting the central pawn, and this will be known as the left single horse defense. Now if the right horse, let's say h2 plus 3 and h8 plus 9 were played, it will be known as the right single horse defense. Now this is considered to be a less orthodox counter and is very vulnerable to attacks by the central cannon because only one horse is protecting the central pawn, and black would have to move his elephants and advisors soon to consolidate the central file. Now the sound move is at this point will be r9 equals to 8 or h2 plus 3 for the screen house defense. Now black would immediately develop his right chariot as a foul chariot, and this will be the most effective pin on black's formation. With this pin, the chariot will now be threatening the cannon, which is protected by this cannon. But in doing so, black cannot move any elephant to the central file or this cannon will be lost. Now at this point, red can also consider r1 plus 1 to develop his chariot as a ranked chariot, but it will not be as threatening as this move, and black will be given a chance to adjust his formation for a powerful defense. And black would play, it will be advised for black to play r9 equals to 8 to protect the cannon in this situation, so that black can play an advisor or elephant to the central file and later on to consolidate his central file. Now r8 plus 2 is not a good idea because red will play p7 plus 1 to develop this horse, and now the horse would be prepared to attack the central pawn. As mentioned earlier, because only one horse is protecting the central pawn, with this move, after attacking the central pawn, the chariot can attack the cannon. Black's formation is unsteady, very unstable, and can be easily exploited by red. So r9 equals to 8 to protect the cannon is advised, and red would play r2 plus 6 for the aggressive attack, threatening to play r2 equals to 3, etc. later on. Black consolidates his defense, and red would not give black any chance of a breather. Now this would be the position of discussion for this board. Now at this point in time, red has started his attack. His intentions are very clear. He will start his attack from the central file and probably develop both horses from the central file. Now at this point in time, there are two main counters that were discussed. The first will be a6 plus 5 and the second will be c8 minus 1. Now in variation A, black could play a6 plus 5 to consolidate his central file further as he prepares to defend stubbornly against red's attack from the center. Unfortunately, we can see that only by the 6th ply, black had already moved an advisor and an elephant to consolidate his defense, and this is done at the expense of underdevelopment of the other major pieces, especially his right flank. Now, after developing the horse as an edge horse in this situation, it does not have any good place to go, and the cannon is still here. Black would have to use at least one move to move the cannon away to develop his chariot as a foul chariot. Developing this chariot as a ranked chariot is also not a good idea because somehow the palace is black's territory is congested, and this would perhaps further worsen his condition. So as can be seen, black's formation is very undesirable. And at this point in time, red would attack with p5 plus 1. Now this is the correct order of moves to make. Beginners would sometimes play h7 plus 5. Now Now, sacrificing the pawn at this point in time is the correct move to make. Let's say, for example, red chose to play e7 plus 5. Black could usually counter with c2 equals to 4. Now, the difference between this variation and playing p5 plus 1 immediately is because now black had played c2 equals to 4, so he could develop his chariot r1 equals to 2 to attack. And with c2 equals to 4, black would have the opportunity to play c4 plus 1 to dislodge this red chariot. So black will be able to gain some momentum on defense, and red's first move initiative would slowly dwindle. So p5 plus 1, after sacrificing the pawn, h7 plus 5. As can be seen, black cannot move c2 equals to 4, and his chariot cannot be developed, or it will be captured by the red cannon. So black can only play c2 plus 1 to try to dislodge the chariot in this manner. Now this is a sound move. It would not be a good idea to play c8 equals to 9 to offer a trade of chariots, because red would usually refuse and play p5 plus 1. Now if black played r8 plus 2 to try to protect the horse, h5 plus 6, and now this horse would attack, would be prepared to play h6 plus 5 to trade this horse for 2 elephants. After delivery and check, the black chariot will be captured. So for beginners, let's say black make this move, for example, any move. If black did not capture, the horse would now be threatening to go for the elbow horse, and black would have lost an advisor without any compensation. So if black captured, this would be immediate check, and black can only play this move, otherwise the cannon would attack the chariot. So at this point in time, red would have a very powerful cannon at the center, and he could play c8 equals to 5, etc. Now there are 3 pieces protecting the horse at this point, so it would not be a good idea to capture it at this point. But we can see that black's formation is very undesirable. Red could usually play c8 equals to 5 to capture material for discover check, etc. a plus 2 is not a good idea. If p5 plus 1, black will counter sacrifice a pawn, so that once the cannon were at this place, it would impede the development of the horse. h5 plus 6 or h5 plus 4 now would not be possible. c9 1, c8 equals to 6. Black tries to dislodge the chariot, but now red would now be prepared to attack and capture the advisor, take the advisor by force. So for example, let's say black make this move, this would be an immediate cannon fork, capturing attacking both chariots. The advisor cannot capture, otherwise it will be a check. So red will gain material. Red will enjoy a huge advantage at this point in time. And let's say black tried to play k5 plus 4, red will still make this move, and if it captured, a check, and because the cannon was blocking the horse, red gains material and a winning position. c8 equals to 9 is not viable, so c2 plus 1 was played. Red will simply retreat his chariot to the riverbank, prevent the pawn from crossing, and black offers a trade of chariot again. Faced with many defensive threats, attacking threats, black can only make this move. Now the line of thinking behind this move was to alleviate some pressure created by this chariot, and besides, the chariot had already moved 1, 2, 3, 4 moves thus far, so black hopes to gain some momentum. Now, however, perhaps a better method of play would be to play h1 minus 3, whereby black would try to develop this horse in anticipation of the attack by the red horse. But unfortunately, nothing more was discussed about this variation, about h1 minus 3 in the book. Red accepts the trade of chariots, and to speed things up, he played r9 equals to 1, preparing to attack this flank. It will rush to this. It will be obvious that black's left flank will be an easy target. Now, if red tried to play h5 plus 7 to attack the cannon and the central pawn, black could play c2 plus 2 for a check at this point in time, and he would now counter black's central cannon with a central cannon of his own and be prepared to trade away cannons if need be. The horse would now be ill-positioned because it cannot deliver a check to the pale corner cannon, and also black would have the option of playing r1 equals to 2. So that is why h5 plus 7 is not a good idea. Sorry. r9 plus 1 would be a much better alternative. r9 equals to 6, and red would play r9 equals to 4 to target this cannon. Now, red would have many tactical options as a continuation to attack. He could capture the central pawn. So for example, say black made this move, he could capture the central pawn and threaten to capture the cannon, forcing the cannon to retreat, etc. And black's position is congested. And up till this point, this chariot had yet to be developed. So red would have a huge advantage by this point. So this would mark the end of variation A. Now to variation B. C8 minus 1. Retreating the cannon is another option for black, whereby now once the cannon was at the third rank, he could move over here or the central file to counter the attack of red's central pawn or red's attack from the central file. This is a commonly used tactic by the single horse defense in similar situations. Red does not care. He doubles down on his attack on the central file. Alright, c8 equals to 5, and red would refuse to trade chariots. Now with this move, red will continue to maintain a powerful offensive. The horse cannot do anything, he cannot move, and red will still maintain his attack on the central file. Now if red accepted the trade of chariots, the situation would be simplified, and black would have a chance to claw back into the game. Black would now play c2 plus equals to 4, threatening perhaps at a later time to play a c4 plus 1 after protecting his horse to trap and capture the red chariot. Now if black chose to move r1 plus 1, c8 equals to 9, the red develops his left chariot. And because the chariot was here, the elements are unlinked. Now threatening the cannon, if the cannon moved, red would simply capture the elephant or the horse. So black would be placed in a dilemma. This horse will still not have any good lines of the further development. Goes to 4, and red would play r9 plus 1. Now this is a good move that looked at that big picture. Now would it be a good idea to play p5 plus 1? Let us see. If p5 plus 1, r1 equals to 2, black tries to gain some momentum on development. c8 equals 6. Red threatens to gain material. c5 plus 7. And this is a very good move. If the cannon captured, red would capture the black chariot. But black would now play r2 plus 1, and the red horse would be trapped. So black would lose. Black would gain back lost material, and red's offensive thus far would have vanished into thin air. And at this point in time, we can see that red's chariot had not been developed, and red will be on the receiving end instead. Black would have turned the tables. The horse can only move here. If it moved either to the first file or the third file, it will be captured by the black cannon. So this is why p5 plus 1 is not a good idea. If c8 plus 5 to try to capture the target the elephant, r1 equals to 2, r9 equals to 8, and now black would protect the horse. So black would be prepared to counter with c4 plus 1 as mentioned earlier. Red would not have gained anything for his efforts, and he would still have to deal with the issue of this chariot being under attack from c4 plus 1. So for beginners, after making this move, note that let's say red cannot make any other move. Let's say if he made this move, Black was still threatened, say, after trading material. Because this chariot was unprotected, that is why red would dare to make this move. So black would now be prepared to counter-attack and have gain a winning position, because now he would still have a chariot on the board, but red would not have. So that is why c8 plus 5 is not a good idea, because this chariot would not be protected. So r9 plus 1, r1 equals to 2. Red would be more than happy to trade cannons. Black would not want to do so. He will move the chariot away. Can be seen at this point in time, all of red's men have occupied the important lines of the board. The final red will be prepared to charge the pawn across the river, and his attack will be fast and furious. So black red's final offensive, game winning offensive, would happen at any time. So that is why c8 minus 1 would not be a viable option in this situation also, and it is also another reason why the right single horse defense is considered to be a poor opening against red's central cannon. Now let us review this board from the eyes of black. Central cannon, right single horse defense. r1 equals to 2, best move in this situation. r9 equals to 8. If c8 plus 2, red would now be prepared to charge the horse, capture the central pawn, and gain material. 6. Hence, p5 plus 1. The attack from the central file begins. Position of discussion. Variation A, a6 plus 5. Black consolidates his defense, but red would have none of it. He will sacrifice his pawn and then mobilize his horse. c2 plus 1 to try to dislodge. If offering a trade of chariots, red would refuse and be able to gain a winning position, threatened to capture the advisor. 2. Gain a trade of chariots. A better move would be h1 minus 3, but unfortunately nothing else was mentioned. So, 5. Red immediately develops his left chariot as a rank chariot, preparing to attack this flank. If h5 plus 7, black could counter, deliver a check, and this horse would now be unable to return, and it will be poorly positioned. Black would be able to shake off his worries and start counter-attacking. The tides would be changed. So c9 equals to 6, h6 r9 equals to 4. Red will now be prepared to capture the pawn and threaten to capture the cannon at any time. This would be variation A. Variation B, c8 minus 1, 5, c8 equals to 5, offering a trade-off, chariots. Red refuses. Black tries to develop his right chariot with c2 equals to 4, moving the cannon out of the way, out of harm's way, or the cannon can. Now the red cannon cannot capture the black chariot. r9 plus 1, good move. Black looks at the big picture. If p5 plus 1, black will now be able to gain back lost material with r2 plus 1. If c8 plus 5, again, this chariot will be unprotected, and now black will be prepared to play c4 plus 1 to capture the red chariot. 2. And red will now have commanded all the important lines. He could play c9 equals to c9 plus 4 to capture the pawn and attack the central pawn again. Both the chariots have commanded the rib files. The horse is ready to go. Black is in all sorts of trouble. So this is the right single horse defense to confront the black's central cannon. So this the weakness of black's formation is relatively obvious, and the central file is the major weakness, and red would be merciless in attacking the central file. That is why black's single horse defense is not commonly seen nowadays. So I hope you've enjoyed this short video. If you like the work that I've been doing, please do subscribe to my channel and give me a thumbs up. Thank you.